Hello and welcome to another edition of NTN's Morning Brew. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the latest news coming from the government of St. Lucia as we start our day. NTN has been down and out for some time, about 24 to 48 hours, but we thank you so much for your patience as we have tried to rectify some systemic issues in our building, and we're back up today. Yeah, we're back up today, and hopefully for the rest of the day we see that the operations and programming of our station goes on uninterrupted. Today is the 2nd of September, another month. We are in the month where school will be reopening. The daycare centers, the preschools are reopened so far. I can speak for myself. I was able to drop my daughter off for her first day of daycare yesterday. So things are on the up and up. Things are looking up, you know, and as we get back into this new normal, we do hope that you are observing the protocols. You are wearing the mask when you're going to the school. You're wearing the mask when you go to pick up your child. You're going to the bank. You're going to work. You're coming from work. You're going to the supermarket. You're boarding a bus. Take note of the mask. Don't leave your home without the mask. Also, hand sanitizer, frequent hand washing. We're in another month where it is, we're still under a state of emergency. This state of emergency will expire as at 30th September. And we do hope that you are observing all of the protocols, ensuring that if you don't need to be out on the road or anything, you're staying at home as much as possible. The pandemic continues to be a real threat. And as St. Lucia has reopened its borders and we're letting people in, these measures are even more important at this time. So please take note. We do hope you're feeling good. We do hope you are, whatever you're sipping on this morning, your coffee, your l'orangette, your cocoa tea, you're having a very good time and you're in good spirits this morning. If you're watching on air online, a special good morning to you. Residents here in St. Lucia, St. Lucians in the diaspora, good morning to you as well. Let's get on with the business of the news coming from the government of St. Lucia. St. Lucia is recording a 100% recovery rate of COVID-19. We have the details to that coming up in just a moment. A statement being issued by the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmar George. We also have an appeal coming from the Ministry of Health for persons to make use of their national helpline for individuals to overcome challenging mental and emotional issues. We know that the pandemic has had an effect on many, some to more of a degree than others, but we do hope that you're able to cope at this time and seek the necessary help in the number 203. We'll be speaking more on that in just a bit. And the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College speaks on their reopening. We know the secondary schools, the primary schools, the daycare and preschools, they all made announcements on how they would be reopening from the Ministry of Education standpoint. And we will also be hearing from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. We do hear word from the Ministry of Tourism, the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, on how they will be adopting a more tailored approach to the marketing of the island amid COVID-19, these challenges that they are facing. And the National Arts Festival. This is something that is most anticipated annually, and we will be hearing from the Cultural Development Foundation in just a bit as to how they will be approaching this year's festivity given the COVID-19 situation. The details to these stories and more are coming up after this very short break. Stay with us.
Back to school is finally here. Jay, you have your hand sanitizer, you have your disinfecting wipes. I even gave you an extra mask, and this one you can put it on.
Jaden, what are the COVID-19 rules?
Wash your hands, always wear a mask, and 6 feet away.
Ensure your children are provided with a personal hygiene kit to carry and use on a daily basis. Items like hand sanitizer, wipes, and extra masks should be in there. Remember, if your child does not feel well or is showing any flu-like symptoms, keep him or her at home. Ensure your child wears a mask at all times, especially upon the arrival at school.
Classrooms have been prepared to ensure physical distancing. Teachers and support staff will guide students during the day to wash their hands, and all surfaces, desks, chairs, door handles, and washrooms will be cleaned regularly.
By now, Administrations of schools would have communicated the new schedule specific to your child's grade or form. Lunches will be consumed at the student's desk or outdoors while respecting physical distancing.
As we start the new school year 2020-2021, we are all adjusting to the new normal that was introduced by COVID-19. I beg of all of you, let us observe the guidelines as prescribed by the Ministry of Health. Our children, teachers, educators, stakeholders, we all depend on one another to do the right thing for the sake of our children and the sake of our nation. Let us all be vigilant and observe the protocols as defined by the Ministry of Health.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is the Morning Brew live on NTN, coming to you from the GIS studios. Before we went to break, we just led with the headlines. And at the top of that is St. Lucia recording 100% recovery of COVID-19 once again. We have the details to just an overall update coming from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmont-George. Take a listen.
St. Lucia has recorded a total of 26 confirmed cases of COVID-19 to date. The last case, recorded on Tuesday, August 18, 2020, was a 32-year-old female who traveled from the U.S. She has recovered fully, both clinically and with negative tests. Presently, all of the confirmed cases of COVID-19 have recovered, and St. Lucia has recorded 0 COVID-19 deaths. A total of 5,542 tests have been conducted to date. As it relates to the 48-year-old national who was found unresponsive in her room at one of the government quarantine sites on Sunday, August 23, 2020, the individual is still being managed at the Owen King EU Hospital, and her condition is not linked to COVID-19. As we continue to open new sectors such as education, the public is advised to take personal responsibility to protect themselves and their family. We continue to increase surveillance to reduce the risks such as the illegal entry at the borders, breaches to home quarantine, and non-adherence to protocol. The public is advised that protocols are still in place. These include the use of face masks in public, maintaining a safe physical distance from others, and to avoid mass crowd gatherings. We appeal to everyone to continue supporting our national efforts to minimize the threat of COVID-19 on our island. The 5 respiratory clinics remain open to facilitate anyone with respiratory signs and symptoms, and the 311 hotline is also available where concerns and questions can be addressed. We continue to advise on the importance of maintaining the standard recommendations for infection prevention and control, which include regular hand washing with soap and water or the use of alcohol-based hand sanitizers, also to cover your mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, we will continue providing further updates on COVID-19.
That was Dr. Sharon Belmont-George, the Chief Medical Officer, speaking to us on the St. Lucia recording 100% recovery of COVID-19. We continue with news this morning. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is urging St. Lucians to use the national helpline number 203 to get the necessary support to overcome challenging mental and emotional issues. We get more in this report from Fernell Neptune.
St. Lucians are urged to utilize the national helpline, telephone number 203, which is expected to provide support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress. Counsel of the St. Lucia National Mental Wellness Center, Chanel Eli Box, spoke on the process for accessing the services available for the National Helpline.
You simply press 203 and you press call. You could use a landline, you can use a mobile phone, and it is free. And like I said, it is 24/7. So as long as you call, you'll be connected to a call responder. And from there, the call responder will assess to see what issues the person may be experiencing and to connect them to the necessary services. Those services could be anything from psychological services to psychiatric services or a myriad of other services offered on the island. So as long as you call, your information is fully confidential and you speak to the call responder will not identify themselves. However, you can communicate with them. I know that's something that makes persons feel a little bit uncomfortable, that they don't know who they're speaking to, but these are trained professionals who will keep anything that you say to them confidential, and they will try as best as possible to connect you to the services that you're comfortable with, and they will explain what they're doing as well.
Eli Box also appealed to individuals or family members who may have someone experiencing an emotional crisis to use the National Helpline to speak to a professional.
Oftentimes, persons think that the person who's experiencing the thoughts should be the one to call. However, if you have noticed any signs or symptoms of someone experiencing mental health concerns, you can call on their behalf. And actually, if you call and you don't want to disclose that you were the one who called, you could just simply let the call responder know that I just want you to contact this person, I'm concerned about them, and they wouldn't even disclose that you were the one who called. Eliminating suicide is a communal effort. We need each person to notice the signs and the symptoms, and those things range from persons posting about death, persons talking about wanting to kill themselves, experiencing hopelessness, a loss of purpose. All of those things count as warning signs, and if someone is communicating those things to you, or posting it on social media, by all means, please call the helpline. It's a free call. It's 24/7 and it doesn't cost you anything.
The National Helpline, telephone number 203, is a free and confidential service available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Reporting from the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am Fernell Neptune.
Thank you, Fernell, for that report. And definitely, it is very timely considering, the space that we're in, responding to COVID-19, recovering from the pandemic. The economic effects were severe, and St. Lucia, as with the rest of the world, is just grappling and trying to come to terms and recover overall. And many persons may have different ways of coping. Again, you're encouraged to contact the helpline 203. And just a gentle reminder, if I could go back to an interview we did last Friday, right here live on the Morning Brew with the director of Turning Point Rehabilitation Center. He was speaking to, individuals who are coping with this pandemic in ways that hurt their body, in terms of abusing certain drugs or alcohol. And we just want to remind you that the Turning Point Rehabilitation Center is available. It is located at the Millennium Heights complex, the medical complex. So please take note of that as well. I want to switch over to just wish a special GIS baby a happy birthday. Miss Kiara Lawrence turns 19 years old today. We do hope that you are enjoying your birthday so far. She's one of the babies, the daughters of one of our top techs in studio in the building here, Roger Vara Lawrence, and we do hope you have a wonderful birthday. Okay, Kiara? Do enjoy. We continue with the news this morning, but before I get to that, I did see in our Facebook Live that there was someone who was making a query with respect to the preschools that are opened at this time, querying whether or not they're still being assessed by the Ministry of Education. As we heard from the Ministry of Education, the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Fiona Philip-Meyer, she did indicate that the cases, the applications from the early childhood development centers on island are coming in, and as they come in, they're being assessed, and alongside the Ministry of Education, also with the Bureau of Standards, they're being assessed as to how these schools will be outfitting their building, what measures they will be putting in place to protect against COVID-19, any risk of transmission and what have you. And many of these applications have gone through to the Environmental Health Department, and they have been approved. And there are still other schools that are still on standby because of the time that they sent in their application. indications. They did get word that some schools are not yet prepared to accommodate students in this new COVID-19 circumstances. So please take note of that. I think it's Alice who made that query this morning. We continue with the news this morning. The Prime Minister, Honorable Alan Chastanet, is continuing to rally the international community to adopt the pre-testing approach to travel. Honorable Chastanet was recently interviewed by Ian King of Sky News and highlighted St. Lucia's management of the pandemic COVID-19. The island's success, Honorable Chastanet said, can be attributed to the pre-testing protocol along with the efforts of the Ministry of Health and overall public cooperation.
British Airways will be starting a daily service to St. Lucia in October. Right now we have about 1/3 of our hotels open. We're hoping to have about 2/3 of our hotels open in October, and by that time, as I indicated, that we should be seeing the opening up of our famous Sulphur Springs, tours to our pitons, hiking throughout the islands, our zipline operations. And so all those operations are being currently certified as we speak. And we're now, on a huge crusade to really convince the airline industry, challenge them to adopt pre-testing as a prerequisite to traveling. We've certainly not seen the return to travel to the extent that we would like to. I mean, I was a vice president of marketing and sales for Air Jamaica when we had 9/11. And it would be difficult to think that persons would have traveled if, in fact, the stringent security processes that followed 9/11 had not been implemented. And we think the same thing here. Airlines cannot fly with COVID social distancing, meaning the middle aisle free. It's just not economically feasible for them to do that. And I think it helps in a big way. If persons are pre-tested, you know that you're going on a flight in which everybody's been pre-tested. And we have seen that protocol has worked very well.
Honorable Prime Minister Alan Chastanet speaking on St. Lucia's response to COVID-19, as well as rallying the international community to adopt the pre-testing approach to travel. We are due for our first break this morning. When we come back, Invest St. Lucia unveils the first St. Lucia mural at the duty-free shopping complex in Point Seraphin. Stay with us. We have the details to that story and much more coming back after.
She's been watching, waiting, wondering when the sands of time will give way to a tide of change, and for yesterday and today to become a new tomorrow. For a time when her sun can kiss the cheeks of your loved one and her stars can twinkle in her honeymoon skies. When her earthly embrace will reassure and calm your soul. And her unique view can change your whole perspective. Proudly, she has risen to meet new challenges and to provide safe harbor to all who reach her shores. For her hopes and dreams still stand, shoulder to shoulder, a precious reminder of experiences yet to come. So, wherever your moments and memories take you, let her sense of adventure set you free. She is St. Lucia. Let her inspire you.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to the Morning Brew live on NTN, bringing you the latest news coming from the government of St. Lucia. There has been much talk about it. Invest St. Lucia has unveiled the first St. Lucia mural at the duty-free shopping complex in Point Seraphin. Point Seraphin has been planning to do a mural for several years and finally erected the structure in the beginning of 2020. However, we all know that COVID-19 came and so far, it has been sitting there, just awaiting a grand unveiling. We have the details to that story from Roger Lawrence.
Point Seraphin came alive with a burst of cultural activity that denoted the melodious chants of Dame Cecil Descott and invigorating characters of the late Sir Derek Walcott, as Invest St. Lucia unveiled a sprawling mural. General Manager of Point Seraphin, Erlan Labadie, says the mural will be the newest photo opportunity and authentic landmark in the Castries Basin. He said this addition to the shopping complex is not only for beautification and tourist attraction, but a source of St. Lucian pride. The paintings, Labadie says, were carefully chosen to portray St. Lucia's past, present, and future through cultural and traditional symbols.
With the name St. Lucia only having 10 letters, there was still no way of fully encompassing the rich culture, diversity, and complicated history of our country, even with the span of 50 feet by 6 feet. But today, what we are about to present is nothing short of tailor-made representation of our iconic and invaluable contributions towards what has made people what we are today.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Point Seraphin welcomed in excess of 4,000 cruise ship passengers in a day. The shopping complex has also been open to locals for decades, providing opportunities for income, commerce, and a steady stream of customers for tenants. It is the largest shopping complex on island and one of the key points of entry.
It will be the latest and possibly the most significant modern landmark in Castries. Our port will join the likes of popular international destinations like Cancun, Budapest, Amsterdam, and Toronto, who all have signs spelling out their cities' names. Today, we are introducing it to St. Lucians here with us or watching online, giving them a first glance to see our interpretation of what represents them. But we want this hard work by our artist, Naja Simeon, to have long-term return as well. Once this pandemic and protocols allow, this mural will become a new item on any tourist or tour operator's itinerary. When our borders open, people returning home or coming to visit Paradise for the first time will be welcomed from the sea and air. And similar to when you see the pitons knowingly peeking through the airplane window, our St. Lucia mural will say hello with the same color, vibrance, and love as our people.
All St. Lucians are encouraged to visit Point Seraphin and take in the picturesque scene. The mural was done by Naja Simeon of Saki Productions, known for numerous contributions to the community through art. From the Government Information Service, Roger Lawrence reporting.
That was a report coming from Roger Lawrence on the St. Lucia mural. And we do hope that when you get an opportunity, you could go to Point Seraphin and get your photo op done with the new mural that is set up. It looks really good, and I think I myself will be doing the same. We continue with news this morning. The St. Lucia Tourism Authority has adopted a more tailored approach to marketing the island amid the challenges of COVID-19. We have a report from Lisa Joseph.
The reopening of St. Lucia's tourism sector, though a shadow of its pre-COVID performance, is showing promising signs of a steady rebound. The island averages 2,500 seats per week from international and Caribbean airlines. As more hotel properties open, the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, the SLTA, is tasked with increasing the load factors. Beverly Nicholson-Dorsey is the Chief Executive Officer.
And so our sales team have been very diligent in working to re-educate the travel agent, the consumers, doing webinars, having sales calls. We've had to switch through virtual trade shows, but we at all times are pressing on ensuring that the messaging is on a very responsible way of marketing tourism. So
the appetite for travel remains lukewarm as countries around the world feel the impact of COVID-19. Restrictions, lockdowns, job losses in the millions, and health system pressures weigh on the decision of potential travelers. Tourism Minister Honorable Dominic Fede says it is the reality that tourism officials must work through.
as they look at, what's going on in the world with this pandemic, the media coverage, are certainly not in favor of tourism at this present time. When we look at what's happening in our source markets, you have travel restrictions in like Canada, for example, where Canadians returning back home would have a quarantine requirement. We saw that the opening of certain European markets by one of our source markets, when they removed the quarantine requirement for some European countries, there was an outbreak in a particular European country, and that would not have sent a lot of confidence. So a lot of people, I believe, because of a host of issues, are perhaps saying, let's wait this out, allow the virus, the global pandemic to settle itself down. And I think that what we're seeing is most people are saying, you're better off doing something domestic, and then let's allow the global pandemic to settle down before we make plans about a vacation. It's very expensive to travel.
The SLTA is continuing focus on the island's best niche markets, including honeymoon. Mrs. Nicholson Doughty says there's evidence of market interest in St. Lucia, and the SLTA is using every avenue to keep the destination top of mind.
While load factors at this time are not certainly where we wouldn't want them to be, we're looking at what the future lies, and that pace is trending up in terms of inquiries about St. Lucia. Not COVID specific, we have seen a 20% increase in people searching for St. Lucia on our website. And so that means that they're planning ahead. They're looking at what the possibilities are in terms of their travel. St. Lucia is top of mind. So our sales team is out there. We're really looking at family markets, wellness, our cultural and heritage events. These are all areas that people are inspired by.
In January 2020, before COVID-19 unleashed, St. Lucia, for the first time in its history, recorded over 400,000 stayover arrivals, an increase of 7.1% year to date. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reporting.
Thanks for that report, Alyssa. And we are due for a break, but before we go, just want to read out a clinic update coming from the Ministry of Health. The primary healthcare unit of the ministry informs the public that the community eye screening clinic will be available only on Wednesdays from 8 a.m. in the following communities for the month of September 2020. So from September 2nd, on September 2nd, 2020, the Dennery SDA Church will be the place of clinic. September 9th, 2020, Bexar Wellness Center. September 16th, 2020, Moshi Resource Center. September 23rd, 2020, Jackmel Wellness Center. And September 30th, 2020, Viewfort Wellness Center. All persons coming to use the eye screening services must wear a mask and adhere to the rules of physical distancing. Before entering the facility, persons' hands will be sanitized with an alcohol-based solution. So please take note of the community eye screening clinic days for the month of September and adhere to the protocols. We also have an update coming from the Department of Infrastructure, Port and Energy to inform residents of Saltibus, Jetwin and environs of the commencement of a pipe relocation and replacement exercise. It's a collaborative intervention between the Water and Sewage Company, Inc. and the Department of Infrastructure as part of the ongoing Saltibus and Jetwin Roads reconstruction project. As a result, residents will experience periodic interruptions in their water supply. This pipe relocation and replacement exercise is scheduled to be undertaken over a period of 3 months. The Department of Infrastructure and WASCO apologizes for any inconvenience that they may have caused and do hope the residents of Saltibus and Jetwin can hold on for the 3 months until this project can be completed. Do stay with us. When we come back, we have some more news coming from the government of St. Lucia.
She's been watching, waiting, wondering when the sands of time will give way to a tide of change, and for yesterday and today to become a new tomorrow, for a time when her sun can kiss the cheeks of your loved one and her stars can twinkle twinkle in her honeymoon skies, when her earthly embrace will reassure and calm your soul. And her unique view can change your whole perspective. Proudly, she has risen to meet new challenges and to provide safe harbor to all who reach her shores. For her hopes and dreams still stand, shoulder to shoulder, a precious reminder of experiences yet to come. So, wherever your moments and memories take you, let her sense of adventure set you free. She is Saint Lucia. Let her inspire you.
We at war with a virus, ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together. Often use hand sanitizer, better yet use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No, no.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Welcome back. The kids are going back to school come Monday. We have the daycare centers, the preschools reopened, and also the South Lewis Community College is preparing to reopen mid-month. We do have a report on them speaking on their arrangements. They finalized arrangements for the new academic year starting in September. As is the case worldwide with tertiary educational institutions, the college has developed a COVID-19 response policy in keeping with the guidelines set out by the Ministries of Health and Education. A key element of the COVID response is the pivot to online learning. And in some other countries, we've seen so far that the tertiary institutions have reopened prematurely, and you've had a rush of COVID-19 cases and they've had to close back again. We're so far seeing that SALCC here in St. Lucia is taking a measure toward e-education. We have more in this report. Take a listen. Faculty of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College are currently being trained to maneuver the Moodle learning management system to facilitate remote learning this semester. Moodle is a learning platform designed to provide educators, administrators, and learners with a single, robust, secure, and integrated system to create personalized learning environments. The move to Moodle is part of the college's response to COVID-19 in minimizing the need for students to be at its North and South campus and farm facility. Leading efforts to streamline SALCC's online offering is Institutional Effectiveness Manager, Dr. Kathy James Springer.
From a lot of the research that we did last semester, that our faculty have challenges with regard to setting up and doing everything that they need to do online. And we essentially have taken that approach where we're not going to leave any faculty member behind. Everybody's on board and everybody needs to move in that direction. And so what we have done is set up a month training. We've actually pushed back the date of reopening, teaching, so that we can spend enough time with faculty actually helping them develop their courses and set up their courses online.
A 2-week Moodle training for students has also been scheduled. This extended orientation and onboarding process will take place from September 7th to the 18th, 2020. Back in June, the college decided to pivot towards online instruction to reduce potential disruptive scenarios like disease outbreak or natural disaster.
This for us is a really important dimension of the shift towards a new modality and a new mode of operation. In many respects, we have been moving in this direction already. What COVID has done is to accelerate that process. And so we think we're in a fairly good position. In fact, relative to some of my colleagues who have been talking with in North America and Europe about what they're doing for their new academic year, I think we are in fairly good stead.
That was college principal Dr. Keith Nurse. Meantime, practical learning at SALCC, which includes labs, clinicals, and field work, will continue as required.
So the hard sciences, whether you're doing the chemistry, physics, environmental studies, those courses which have technical or practical components in auto mechanics, you would have to do garage work. Refrigeration, you may have to do work. The number of the culinary arts, you would have to do kitchen work. So a number of those courses have practical components, and so therefore the students would have to come to the campus to do that, and so waivers would be made for those students.
Protocols for students and visitors who must visit a campus include the use of face masks except bandanas, hand sanitization at building entrances, and strict observance of social and physical distancing. Online classes at the college will officially begin September 21st, 2020. For the Government Information Service, I am Jessie Leonce reporting. Thank you for that report, Roger. Just continuing with the news this morning, the National Arts Festival will take place this year. So far, persons have been wondering, especially since Carnival, we had the postponement of Carnival onto 2021. Many persons have been looking to see, what form will many of the other slated annual activities will it take? And so the National Arts Festival, we've heard word that it will take place this year, with a difference. And the Cultural Development Foundation did launch the event, announcing its digital format due to COVID-19. We have a report. Take a look.
The festival is an annual and unique celebration of St. Lucian art history and features an eclectic mix of work from artists in various genres of the arts, including dance, theater, literature, spoken word, and visual arts. Executive Director of the Cultural Development Foundation, Ramona Henry Wynn, stated that this year will see an unprecedented change of dynamics in the organization of the National Arts Festival due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
We know that the world was going digital. A lot of the artists were going digital. So the CDF was forced to go in that direction to ensure that we delivered across the borders, bridging that divide. A lot of young persons, when they hear the word culture, it seems like something that they cannot identify with. And we thought this was the opportunity to put it out there digitally in a world that the younger persons can identify with, in a way that they can understand and appreciate the work that CDF was doing. And we thought, what a wonderful opportunity and time to do this.
The Cultural Development Foundation is working closely with community individuals and entities, as well as the corporate community, to ensure the success of the Arts Festival. Ria Modest is a representative of the Horizon sponsor, St. Lucia Electricity Services, Lucilec.
We applaud the CDF for its own creativity in finding ways to continue its annual outreach despite the challenges that the COVID-19 has brought upon all of us. This is a tangible demonstration of the resilience of the creative arts and industries that has been as much a hallmark of their existence as the respective art forms themselves. In many ways, this commitment to deliver on your mandate against all odds reflects how we feel about what we do, to be the energy that powers our nation's success day in, day out, 24/7, 65 or 366. So we're happy to be able to power Outreach 2020.
The official launch of the National Arts Festival took place on Thursday, August 27, 2020, at the Cultural Development Foundation headquarters. From the Government Information Service, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
Thanks for that report, Anicia. Before we went to that report, I had to read out something, a statement coming from the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. The Taiwanese Embassy has sponsored the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College for educators, training for educators in e-learning. And just to read out the statement that they put out, the SALCC and the Taiwan ICDF ICT in Educational Development Project are collaborating to provide training in online instruction for teachers in St. Lucia and across the region. This is in recognition of the growing need to develop capacity in technology-enabled instruction among practitioners in the education system and as a response to emerging trends in digital education and online learning. And once again, we see, the Taiwanese, the government of Taiwan is coming to the aid of St. Lucians, coming to the aid of our side of the world as it pertains to adjusting to COVID-19. And not only have they given loads of help in terms of the equipment that we need, the PPEs and what have you, but they're also helping the educators get up to breast and au courant with what's going on in terms of e-education. There was a check presentation held at the Mon campus yesterday. That was at 10 a.m. and hopefully we do get the details of that story in our newscast tonight. The e-learning summer academy being put on by SALCC for educators is aimed at helping practitioners respond to change and innovation in education. More than 100 participants are currently enrolled in the summer program, which began on August 4th and will run until November. It's not so summer as we see, but the course comprises of 7 modules, which includes practical components such as video production, animation to develop educational content, and the course is being facilitated by lecturers of the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College. So thank you, a big thank you to the SALCC lecturers as well as the government of Taiwan for funding this training for our educators in the region. And we wrap up with this for this morning's brew with the contestants of the Miss Independence pageant. On Thursday, they gathered at the Prime Minister's official residence for the prize-giving ceremony. We have a report on what transpired.
The 9 beauties who graced the stage on February 15, 2020 for the staging of the Miss Independence pageant happily gathered to receive their respective prizes 6 months after competition. The delay caused by COVID-19 did not lessen the significance of the moment. Mrs. Rosella King is the chairperson of the Miss Independence Pageant Committee.
For the 3rd consecutive year since this committee undertook the execution of the Miss Independence pageant, it has continued to grow, not only in attendance numbers, but in caliber, class, and high standard. Again, ladies, this would not have been possible without your unwavering participation, which started officially with the sashing ceremony and ended with the crowning of our Miss Independence 2020, Akia Chico.
The other contenders were Agneta Paul, Miss Miku, Ashel Evans, Miss Ansela Ray, Candice Jean, Miss Castry Central, Demisha Theodore, Miss Roselle, Elodie Octave, Miss Groselet, Nadej McLaurin, Miss Castry South, Nicole Herald, Miss Soufre, and Rocher Sincere, Miss Canaries. The young ladies were encouraged to believe in themselves and become leaders in all aspects of their lives.
You should use this opportunity you were afforded as a focus of national pride. You have been given the opportunity to enrich not only your own lives, but the lives of others. This is the perfect opportunity for you to fulfill your ambitions and develop yourself as human beings. You have been given the opportunity to serve as an ambassador within your communities and by extension, your country. You may choose to do so by probably being part of a charitable organization, whether you become a member or just giving of your time and talent to the less fortunate in our community.
Akia Chico, on the night of competition, took the crown home to Labrie for the second consecutive time.
Winning is an important thing, but the journey and the experience teaches you so much more. I have evolved from a little shy girl into this confident and fearless young lady, mainly because of my participations in pageant shows. I've learned to set goals and go for them, but at the same time, be understanding and considerate about other people. My mom and the rest of the family are always supportive, and they keep me grounded. I hope that my journey, which has just started, can be a motivation to other young ladies from my community library. After all, according to my former school principal, Mrs. Agatha Japanel, library girls must shine.
The experience, she says, has changed her life forever. The prize-giving ceremony was held at the official residence of the Prime Minister. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reports in.
Congratulations to all of the lovely ladies, the lovely belles. We are due for another break. And before we wrap up in that last segment, I know we said this pageant prize giving would be the last story, but we have to squeeze in, a story that is coming from the Toko donation. His Excellency Taj Weeks, Goodwill Ambassador, has done it again, continuing to look out for the lives of the nation's children. So stay tuned for that on the other end of this break. We wrap up and we feature some goodwill.
Back to school is finally here. Jay, you have your hand sanitizer, you have your disinfecting wipes. I even gave you an extra mask, and this one you can put it on.
Jaden, what are the COVID-19 rules? Wash your hands, always wear your mask, and 6 feet away.
Ensure your children are provided with a personal hygiene kit to carry and use on a daily basis. Items like hand sanitizer, wipes, and extra masks should be in there. Remember, if your child does not feel well or is showing any flu-like symptoms, keep him or her at home. Ensure your child wears a mask at all times, especially upon the arrival at school. Classrooms have been prepared to ensure physical distancing. Teachers and support staff will guide students during the day to wash their hands, and all surfaces, desks, chairs, door handles, and washrooms will be cleaned regularly. By now, administrations of schools would have communicated the new schedule specific to your child's grade or form. Lunches will be consumed at the student's desk or outdoors while respecting physical distancing.
As we start the new school year, 2020-2021, we are all adjusting to the new normal that was introduced by COVID-19. I beg of all of you, let us observe the guidelines as prescribed by the Ministry of Health. Our children, teachers, educators, stakeholders, we all depend on one another to do the right thing for the sake of our children and the sake of our nation. Let us all be vigilant and observe the protocols as defined by the Ministry of Health.
We're now down to our final segment of the Morning Brew for today, Wednesday, the 2nd of September. Thank you so much for watching for the duration. And before we got onto this segment, we saw the guidelines video, PSA, coming from the Ministry of Education on how the kids and the teachers, everyone in the school, as we're preparing for the reopening of school, should behave and should conduct themselves under this new COVID-19 circumstance. And just seeing the kids, it makes you feel really good that things are getting back into some sense of normalcy, a new normal albeit, but we do hope that everyone plays their part to ensure that we continue to adhere to the rules and regulations put out for the protection of the population. And remember, the kids are looking up to us. They're looking up to the adults. They're mimicking and we are an example to them, and we should do our part so that the kids can continue to adhere to the protocols overall. So really good to see the kids, you know, they're looking nice and fresh for the reopening of school. I guess it was probably shot for orientation during orientation days, but we do wish all the kids all the best of luck as they begin school next week, and we do encourage you to adhere to the protocols. Lots of hand washing, the use of hand sanitizer. It's the new fad, and let's continue to make it that. As we round up for the morning, Goodwill Ambassador, His Excellency Taj Weeks, has made another contribution to improving the lives of the nation's children. And we want to feature that before we end with this morning's brew.
The They Often Cry Outreach Toko Foundation, founded by St. Lucian artist and Goodwill Ambassador Taj Weeks, presented the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development with laptops and tablets to assist schools in meeting the demand for increased access to digital devices. The foundation has donated to various sectors and organizations on the island before in the areas of at-risk youth, education, sports, and health. Mr. Weeks expressed gratitude to all stakeholders involved in procuring the devices.
We were really happy, though, the Toko team, to be able to pull this off. I mean, that falls kind of under our mandate, that we're here to help when help is needed. And, you know, we don't pick it from our backyards. We don't pick it from the fruit trees or anywhere. We work hard to make it happen. And we really do. We really, truly appreciate everybody coming together and making this happen.
Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Fiona Meyer, expressed gratitude to the Toko Foundation for their support.
Today we are so privileged to have received from the Toko Foundation devices for 8 of our educational institutions across the island. And that gratitude we extend because we know that it was given with a genuine heart, really looking at the educational attainment of our children. And so as a department, we've always recognized that some of our limitations are limitations of the physical devices, but more so access for our children to be able to gain educational attainment and not simply play on the devices. And so this is why it was important to look at schools and look at a school set that can support quite a few children. So it's not about individual children getting a device, it's about ensuring that the entire school population can benefit from it.
The handing over of the donations by the Toko Foundation took place on Thursday, August 27th, 2020 at the Ministry of Education headquarters. From the Government Information Service, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
A wonderful report there on work being done by, a private citizen, now Goodwill Ambassador, His Excellency Taj Weeks, doing the best that he can to help the kids right now as they transition into more of the e-learning for the new academic year. And meantime, the Toko Foundation, through the National Youth Council's Pledge for a Child, donated 200 pairs of shoes. Edison Lane is the Public Relations Officer of the NYC and spoke to this donation.
We are just grateful, of course, to Toko Foundation and, of course, to all the administrative individuals involved for bringing together this donation to the youth of St. Lucia through the St. Lucia National Youth Council Pledge for a Child. So, of course, we appreciate it, and we once again say thank you on behalf of all the team put together for Pledge for a Child, as well as the St. Lucia National Youth Council executives and all of our body members.
We want to thank His Excellency Taj Weeks for all his charitable efforts so far being made out to the people of St. Lucia. And with that, we round up with the Morning Brew live on NTN. We'd like to thank you so much for watching. St. Lucia is doing well, and we are, faring well considering the circumstances, the very stark reality of COVID-19 that is happening all around us, all around the globe. St. Lucia is doing well, people. We are doing well. We just hope you can continue to observe the protocols. Ensure, as we open our borders, we have persons coming in to do the 14-day quarantining, everything that is being put in place for the protection of the population, that you adhere yourself to the protocols. And I just got a message, a joke. I was saying earlier that the kids are looking up to us to be the example for the COVID-19 protocols and adhering to the protocols and what have you. But at the same time, the kids are also taking the lead. They're doing everything that they need to, asking for their hand sanitizer, making sure they have nice fashionable masks and what have you. So let's continue to encourage them, yeah? On that note, I'd like to thank you so much for watching another installment of the Morning Brew live on NTN. Of course, we were down for some time on air, but we'd like to thank you so much for continuing to watch and be patient with us. We're back on air today. Do stay tuned for more NTN programming. My name is Jessie Leon, signing off for now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.